Right, welcome to session 13. Basically, we finished up with the we finished the roof plan last week, which was adding the underpinnings and so on and so forth, and then we added the footing plan onto the electrical plan, which we did the week before that. Now, I just want to reiterate, when you're saving, save it as a different version today. So today, for a start, we're going to, what are we doing? We're doing the site plan and a detail, roof detail. So I'm going to begin with saving this as, to start off with. So I'm going to call this one, I'm going to have a version control of 10 here. It was 9 before. And I'm also going to give it a different description. So this will be the site plan, your site plan, and detail. So we can add a detail in there of some sort, okay? So we're just going to save that for me today. And can I just also say that, when I did a save, then it will create a backup file of that as well. So we've got 2 copies already, but that's just on my disk here. If my disk fails or if I accidentally delete it from there, then I don't have any record. So please, at the end of the day, also email it to yourselves or put it on OneDrive, whatever, or have another disk which you can double back it up on. So I'm just looking for 3 backups here: one on your current computer, one perhaps on a USB, and one off-site, which will be your cloud, perhaps. All right. So let's keep to that. And all right. So let's go on and now let's have a look at the Learn site. Basically, we'll go to the assessment task. And down there, if we go to task 5, has appeared magically, which is site in detail. And we have basically the document that we'll be following today. So download that. And we can use this here. So that basically goes to, we're going to go to part 2, part 2, which is drawing 5, site plan and detail. And we'll read through that in a minute. The other things you need to download is the other 3 things there, which is the site plan and detail, which is basically the finished version. So that's the finished version of what we've hopefully achieved today, something like this. Oh, look at that. My street is a bit blocked off, but we'll do a better job than that. The footpath is half missing, but that's all right. I should have pushed it up a bit more. And we're going to have this detail put in here as well. And before you panic, no, we're not going to draw this. We're going to just cut and paste it in there. All right. So that's an image file. All right. So that's that. So that's that one. And then download, because we're going to cut and paste it in there. Basically, well, not cut and paste. We're going to insert this image, which is the eaves detail. So download that so it's ready for you to use. Now, how do we do that? That's interesting. You click that and it doesn't download. So you might have to right click, save image as, perhaps, once it comes up, and just put it somewhere that you are going to find it, preferably in the same folder as your drawing file is. Where's my thing gone here? Just minimize that. I'm looking for vet here. So we're looking for that, and it's going to go in here, and I'm going to put it in my drawings folder, and I will call it whatever you want to call it, use detail, whatever you want to call it. The name is already there anyway. So I've already got one pre-saved, so I'm not going to do that. All right, so just put it in there. And then the next one will be the site plan that the surveyor has sent to us. So you're not going to draw the site plan, but it's rather more realistic in the way that the surveyor has sent one to you. Show in folder. So again, you grab that and copy that, Control X, and just put it in the right folder. And I've got one in my vet again, so I won't go through that. All right. So do those 4 things or something there, and then we can have it all there at our fingertips and ready to roll. All right. So I'll just close off a couple of these things. So that one there I keep, this one here I keep, and we're going to refer to those there. So here, okay, so basically we're going to producing the drawing set, which is basically adding to the drawing set. The idea of this plan is that you have engaged an external consultant, surveyor in this instance, to survey and identify your site boundaries, what they call as an ident in their terminology, and provide a CAD plan so you can then use or insert in here. Now this plan can be inserted as just a plain, like a normal block, like we have been inserting a toilet or a sink or whatever in the past. And then you can explode it and you can change its colors and whatever, and move the text around and whatever have you. Or you can bring it in as an external reference, which is, upping it up a bit now, teaching you something new. So I decided to go with external reference, which will show you a few more little tricks up your belt, sort of thing. We've done enough inserting, straight inserting. Well, let's learn something a little bit more advanced. Okay, so I decided to go that way, but you could be able. Now, what is the advantage of actually going external reference as opposed to just inserting it in, exploding it, and just changing its colors and whatever you have to do? Can anyone think what would be an advantage to going? Why choose one over the other, for example? I mean, I know you haven't done external referencing before, but basically what external referencing means, you are inserting it, but you're just seeing the image of it. You can measure from it and all that sort of stuff. Yes, you can do that. You can change the colors still, but you can't move things around. I can't move the text around. It's like a block, so you can't do anything with it. So it's just so the file is not, when you insert a toilet, it lives in the drawing. It's in there. It's part of that drawing. When you insert an external reference, it's not part. It's in the drawing. You can see it, but it doesn't live in it. You all of a sudden now have to have, for that to be visible, you have to have both the drawing file, the site plan drawing file on your hard disk, also your drawing. Now, if that site plan file is ever deleted, then you'll see no site plan. It's gone. So it lives outside the drawing. Now, the advantages of external referencing is that there's a couple. For example, a scenario would be in a big office, you're working on a big, let's say a hospital. So someone does a base plan, and then that base plan is used to create other plans from. Now, we've already created a number of plans here. We've done electrical plan, what is it, the roof plan, footing plan, whatever, right? Typically for a bigger job, it's small enough, you probably wouldn't bother doing it that way. But for a bigger job, you would say, okay, here's my floor plan. I would now give it to the electrical people, and they can externally reference it in. They can do the electrical on top. Roof plan, same. All right. The advantage of that is it keeps the file size smaller for a start. But the bigger advantage is this. If the architect ever changes that floor plan, you just send a new one to all those people. Next time they open their drawing, they see the new boundaries come or the new walls appear or whatever, and then they can adjust their, obviously you send them an email saying, look, I changed the bedroom 3 to this and whatever, and then they look out for that and they will do their changes accordingly, right? So we don't have copies of, if they had inserted that floor plan directly in there and exploded it and did whatever, they'll have to then find all the walls, delete each one, and reinsert it in, and that's a problem. Okay, so external referencing is used widely in, especially everywhere, even consultants, not just architects. All right. Sorry, I didn't hear you. The consultant is in, who's the consultant? So if you're an architect and you're giving your floor plan to the consultant, they cannot change your floor plan. They're not allowed to anyway. Yeah, they can add air conditioning to it, yes. Well, they add it to the image behind. You see in a minute, basically, if I have a look at the floor plan here, this one, right? what I have done here, I've actually brought in those boundaries and the text that you see there, the distances and the bearings. I brought them in straight. There was just part of the, and that note was actually part of the surveyor's drawing. I didn't add those in. The easement was in there already. What I added in here is our basically the drainage plan here, or the down pipes, that text, the hatching, the proposed residence thing in here, and actually the roof plan shouldn't be even on there. I should turn that off. Added the driveway, all right, and that's all jazz. That's all I've done. So basically, I'm using their drawing as a backdrop behind mine, and I'm just adding bits to it. I'll be left with the hatching, the outline of the house, the DP, which is downpipe, the drainage, that pipe there, and the driveway. Yeah, and that's it. I won't have all this, nothing around here. I'll have that note. I'll put that note in. Yeah, that's all you see. Yeah. So if you ever deleted that or switch it off, yeah, that's what you see. But the advantage is if the surveyor sends me a new drawing or something, if they made a mistake or something happened to that for some reason, I just overwrite the drawing, copy and paste on top of it, overwrite it, open this up, new boundaries show up. So it's not that actually happens. That's what people do in bigger sites. They don't actually play around with the boundaries. They just whatever the surveyor gave, including any contours. So they just turn them off if you don't want the contours. But with the other scenario, which is the more likely one, where you actually are giving out, being a building designer, your floor plan, again, they're not allowed to touch it. All right, so they'll put it as a backdrop, and they put the air conditioning, they put the lighting over the top of that. Any changes, they need to get back to you and say, hey, there's a clash with the lights and the air conditioning. So the electrical guy will talk to in that case, to the HVAC. If there's anything that you need to change, a column or whatever, they'll tell you. So that's all about coordinating with the whole team, basically. Yeah, make more sense. Make more sense when you see it in action, of course. Yeah. All right. So let's go with that. So that's that paragraph there. So now we'll move to down here, and we'll show you basically this is straight out of the example site plan below. Is extracted from the AS 1100 301 there, page 45. And we will send you a link to, if you don't know how to get into the standards through our library system, we'll send you a link so you can access the whole thing here. And things like textiles and that sort of thing come from the AS 1100. Those textiles and text sizes will come from the AS 1100. This is the 301. I can't maybe speaker. Hang on, 301. There is the 101 as well. And that one is a more general one that applies to all the disciplines. This one just applies to architectural work. So this site plan has been, as an example, taken out of that. Ours is a bit different. This one here, you can see the downpipes go to the front of the avenue here, the road. But this is because this site plan slopes, that's high here and it's low here. But our site is a bit different. We didn't put the aerials on ours this time, but you could also add aerials. But looking at our floor plan, one would assume that this thing here is going downhill towards the back. That's why they got the easement at the back. So naturally, it flows back into here, and there's a pipe that goes along here, and stormwater hooks onto that and it goes out and drains. Right? And also the sewerage will be at the back of your. So that's an easement that you're not allowed to build anything on, but you can use obviously just use the land to just to run around in or kick the football or whatever, but you can't do anything else with that. All right. So that's what an easement is. All right. So that's does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So let's move on with that and go here, there. So that's an example one straight out of the standard. Generally, our north point will be facing up, and I'm missing the north point of mine as well. So remind me when you get there, we'll put a north point in. Okay, so basically we are going to, yeah, so the way we're going to start it is we're going to create a new sheet. I don't actually mention that spelling it out that way, but we're going to copy the electrical and footing plan layout and call it site plan. It doesn't mean, it's not very clear. It should be another little step there, which I didn't actually mention. So basically what I'm trying to say here is this, don't destroy this, but create a new layout down the bottom here. So right click and go copy or, move or copy. And then you click on the move to end. And then you must click on the create copy bit of it and then press OK and it'll create another one and we'll rename that. All right, so for now, just open it up, have a look at that detail, rename it. And of course, just so you don't get confused, first thing you need to do is just change the name to AO3 here, or the sheet name. And of course, it is not electrical footing plans. It is there's something else you need to change as well. So it'll be site and site plan and detail. Something to that effect. All right, and everything else pretty much. Oh, now the other thing you need to change here in this case, we're going to have the site plan at 1:200, and we're going to have the detail at 1:10. So for the first time, I'll okay that for now. This is not going to be 1:100 because it's varied. So as the thing is as indicated. But that's a little bit long. But that's what you normally will write as indicated. How can we abbreviate that? Any other? No. Can't really. Unfortunately, we're locked in with this thing here, which is not really very friendly in being able to change it. So we just have to leave it like that. I can't even get in and move. Sometimes you can get in and move the text a little bit and adjust it, but I can't do that because I'm not going to muck around with it. It's in the options, but I won't bother with it. Okay, thank you. Let's go out of the standard and go as, thank you. Yeah, of course. Good idea. That's how you do it, as indicated. Might even afford one capital. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Just do that. Easy. Never a problem. All right, so that's that. The next thing is to follow the instructions. And the instruction is what? We've done that. Make necessary modifications title block, which we did. Delete the electrical plan viewport. Move the footing plan viewport to the left because that one is a bit simpler to deal with. And change the scale to 1:200. In addition, knowledge here will go. I'll tell you in a minute. All right, so basically we're going to just delete this viewport. Of course, it doesn't delete our model stuff. It's just the viewport. So this viewport, we had no text over the top of it in paper space, so it's fine. So let's just move it to the left. Just click on it and then just go to the home and go to move, and just click somewhere. Make sure you go horizontal. That'll be good. Okay, so this one here will become our site plan now. I just changed the label already, so I'm ready to roll. Change the name of your point? Yes, just change the name of that. I'll just zoom it up. I'm changing it to site plan, and I'm going to make it 1:200 as well. So we're not getting confused about what it is. It's not a footing plan. All right. Now look what happened with this one, because we had some text on the sheet. When I moved the viewport, that text remained. So you need to just clear that out, like that, and delete. I'll leave that there because I'll use that for my detail label later and change it. All right, and all lines up all right. All right, so that's that. While I look up what the next note is, Yeah, as I said before, the roof plan should not really be on there. It's complicating matters. I accidentally turned it on before printing, so that we wouldn't have the roof outline on there. But that's all right. I'll fix it up another time. So let's go back to this. Oh yeah, and we've got to change the scale to 1:200, and I'm going to show you how to create new scales as well. So let's do that. How's everyone gone with doing this much? Anyone stuck? Please put your hand up. Okay. All right. Okay, so basically now we've got to do our set our scale. So you need to just click on the viewport or go into the viewport. It doesn't matter. You can go into it like that. All right, so I'm in the sort of floating viewport there in the model space. And you can see now we can have to change the scale. We're going to have to unlock our viewport because it's locked. And now, because I've unlocked it, I can actually go to the scale here where it says 1:100 in my case. And I have seen a couple around the classroom that doesn't say 1:100. If it doesn't say 1:100, it means you originally had the other footing plan wrong. If it says 0.09 or something like that, you know if it's not a round number, it means you didn't quite lock it at the right size. All right, so now I can choose 1:200. Now, tell me, do you guys have a 1:200? 1:200? I have one up the top myself, but do you guys have one? I don't know how I ended up with it, but I have one. And I thought, oh, I'm quite lucky. I don't have to create one. But then I did put instructions in there to show you how to create one because by default, AutoCAD doesn't have a 1:200. All right. So allow me a second to go to custom. Don't do this, and delete my 1:200. If it lets me do it. Oh, it doesn't let me do it. Okay. I'll just edit. Okay. Let me just see what I can do with this. I'm not sure why I can't delete it for a reason. Cancel that for a minute. All right, so I've just discovered that you guys don't have a 1:200, so I've got rid of my 1:200. I'll show you from scratch how to create one, okay? So let's, what you need to do, because we haven't, you can only do those in model space or through the viewport. So you double click into a viewport, and then that would appear, that scale portion of the status bar. Just click down there, and then, sorry. Oh, well, you have to unlock your viewport, because if you don't unlock your viewport, it's unlocked. Oh, let me just check. All right, so yeah, some of you can't do this. If you're in this version, if you're in this look, I suppose, in the expanded mode, you won't be able to change the scale. It locks in. You can't change it. It locks in automatically when you're in this. So you need to come out of this and just make sure you're in the floating in the viewport like that. All right. Then you can change it. If it's unlocked, let me just unlock it. Just go here and you'll be able to pick another scale. The scale we want to pick is 1:200, but it's not there. It doesn't come automatically with it. All right. So we need to just go to custom and go to add a scale. All right. And here it's just a name. You can call it whatever. You can call it side plan if you want, but normally we'll call it what it is. 1:200. 1:200, and those scales are also in the AS 1100-101 something. So for a site plan, and I don't have time to bring it up, but I think it's on page 19 or something. It tells you what site plan scales should be. Like we usually 1:500 or 1:200 for a house. If for example a commercial shopping center, it might be 1:500 because it's a bigger piece of the parcel of land, and you just can't show it all on an A1, for example, if you do it 1:200. So they're all acceptable. You know, you wouldn't do a site plan at 1:100, for example. Yeah. All right, so it's too big. Yeah. So okay, so the actual thing that makes it work though is not that at the top. It's this down here. Very important. Change the drawing units. The number one paper unit stays the same, and this changes to 200. to go OK like that, and he puts it right at the top there or near the top. So what you need to do is just I like to move them down, so that just press the move down button, so it's in order like that, just below the 1:100, so you can easily find it. All right, so you go OK, and then you just go here and you go to 1:200, and you can see it makes it about half the size, exactly half the size as it was before. And then we can do some turning off stuff, and the immediate thing you can see there, you want to turn off your footings, and in my case, yeah, I also got the wall hatch, so you can sort of see what needs to be turned off. So you might as well just do the bit so you can see immediately, and then we'll check our notes. And there's the wall hatch. Do I have a wall hatch or just a hatch? What do we have? Hatch, wall hatch, yeah. Oh yeah, we're going to create those next, yeah, but we need to, do we not say to, do we say after to turn them off? Yeah, you know, I always do things backwards. I'm doing the next step already. I'm doing step 4, should be step 3, but that's all right. I mean, oh, look at that. That's terrible. It looks really bad now, doesn't it? We've got nothing. Let's just, so in the end, we're going to have 0. Okay. What's there anyway? Let's see. We've got walls, 3, 5, and might as well turn them off as well. See what else there is. Yeah. So that's basically. I didn't. No, you're right. I left that for you to remind me. So you lock it. Thank you. Are you reading the notes or something? Because I don't read the notes. Stop cheating. Okay, so yeah, lock it to 200. And yeah, as soon as possible. Now, if you locked it and you realize this number is no longer 1:200 because somehow you did some zooming around, then go, unlock it and make sure it says 1:200. Okay, so you can change. So basically, we've got nothing there now, in my case. But let's go back and look at the notes. All right, so what the notes say is we have to create some layers, and in the layer site house, trace the outline of the house, including the veranda. Oh, so I did it back to front. So I shouldn't have turned off the walls. I should have left it there. Hey, I stuffed up. I knew there's a reason why I put notes in there. Just undo some of that. Just to undo. Let's undo. Idiot, eh? Yeah, just leave it like that. Sorry about that. I should have read my notes. I just jumped the gun. Just leave it like that. So don't worry about me. Okay, just come out of that and just let's go back and leave it like that. Make sure you got it's 1:200. If you click on the outline, just leave it like that. My apologies. Undo everything because we have nothing to trace otherwise. And I'm a total idiot. Let's go. Let's create these new layers, and you can actually, these are the new layers we're going to need to, I want to call that sewer for. That should be stormwater. Anyway, we'll fix that up. That should be stormwater, the last one. My apologies. So let's go site boundary. So I'm just going to highlight and Control C to copy that. And it's color 3. So let's go into the layer dialog box and go new and call it just Control V. There's my site boundary. It's going to be color 3, we said, which is green. So set that to green and go OK. It's going to be continuous line type. Yes. Excellent. Do the next one. It's going to be site house. Yes, we need a site house. Be careful there. Need a house. Okay, so Control V. What's that going to be? 2, which is yellow. All right, yellow. Just go through that. Again, it's going to be continuous. So I'm just changing the one on the left, not the color on the right. Then if you do the left one, it will automatically do the right one the same. Yeah, it will automatically update the current viewport one to be the same color. Yep. So site hatch you're going to need. So let's go that one. Control V, and site hatch will be color 7. So change that one to 7, which is the white one. And it looks black on there, but it's fine. Okay, so then we've got paths. Control copy. Control V. and the path is going to be white as well, so leave it as is. That's great, that's easy. And we'll do a new one. Next one is going to be just change it, just paste the paths, but just change it to stormwater. We're not doing the sewer. All right, so that color is also white. Look at down here, we should have a whole lot of site plans, site layers, and there they are. The stormwater one, we do need to change the line type, and we have gone for dash dot for the look of it. Hopefully it's not, yeah. I haven't got dash dot in here, so I have to load that in. So when you click on the line type there, on the continuous, this comes up and it's not there, so you just go load. So then you go down to dash dot, and I will just bring in all three normally, because it might, when I'm first drawing this, I'm not sure whether I need the dot 2 or dot x2 or just dot. So I just, in case, I'll bring all three of them. Then I'll just choose one. We'll start off with dash dot and see if that is the one. So that's it there. Done. So what's next? We need to trace something next, don't we? We need to, in the viewport, make sure all layers are frozen except for the 2 site layers. But if we freeze everything, we can't trace. So number 4. Oh, I missed number 4. Oh yeah, in the layer. Oh, what happened to that? Who put that under there? I can't even see it. In layer site house, trace the outline of the house, including the veranda. Yeah, that's the one we need. Okay. Exactly. To take the words right out of Russell's mouth, as he says. That's what we need the students tell us what to do. All right. So let's go with the site house. So yeah, let's go with that one. Site house current layer. So I'll give you a moment to make sure you create those layers. Okay, so basically it says here to trace around, including the veranda, and then my drawings doesn't show the veranda, but you do need to do it. Later on I do show it down here. It's just that I missed it from that snapshot. My apologies there. We'll correct the document ASAP. All right, so let's do that. And yeah, let's go number 4 and do that. So basically, I'm in the layer site house, and I'm about to start tracing. So I'm going to go in the full viewport here, double click and go into the model space there. Much easier to zoom around and see the whole thing. So I'm going to use, okay, so what have we got here? Can we use anything that's here already, or do we just trace it? And mine is all broken up. So some of you already got this in polyline. You might wish to copy that over the top of itself and then change one to a different layer, but that can get too confusing. So you can just, like me, go to polyline, and I'm doing it in polyline. That will come in useful later on, because we're going to use that to create a few other things from it quite easily. So I'm just going to keep it at a polyline, which means it's just one entity with lots of vectors in it, lots of segments. Making sure you are zooming in and getting that intersection, those corners there. There we go. And I'm going to go around the house here. I'm going to leave the veranda out of the polyline for now. I'm just going to close that. So that's, so I press C for close and spacebar, and what happened to it? It disappeared. But it should be there. There it is. So for me, it went in the background, so I can't see it. But when I click on it, it comes up. If you have trouble finding it still by clicking on it, I recommend you turn on the selection cycling, which is actually in your bottom right hand corner, selection cycling, and you can turn it on here on the status bar. And when you click over the top of this, it will say, well, there's 2 or 3 things there usually. Oops, I missed. Is it on? Well, it's not actually telling me there's 2 or 3 things on there, which means I might be in trouble. I know it does. See, there's 4 things over the top of that. There's a hatch, there's a polyline, there's a line, there's a polyline that's yellow, and just check that, and that selected that. All right. Okay, so that's, I don't need to select it anyway. I just wanted to make sure it's there. All right, so let's have a look at the next step. which is in the viewport, make sure all layers are frozen except for the 2 site layers. Well, it's actually, we've got more site layers now, haven't we? It's about 4 or 5, isn't there? Except for all the site layers, basically. So we can go the quick way if we want, or we can pick each one. It's only 3 or 4 of them, but the other ways, you could go through here and just select everything. Click on here, Control A, and just freeze them all, except for the 2, well, except for all the site ones. It's basically the site ones are down under S. So then I can just click on one of the site ones, and then click on the last one. Oops, shift key, sorry. Site. So a site. Hey, site boundary. Did we do that one? Did we create site boundary? Was that in the list? Oh, you did. Gee, that's what happens when you copy and paste. You don't remember typing it in. All right, so that's in. So that we'll just store those in the current viewport. Okay. So that's all we need. So now if I close that, I should just have that outline. Oh, I didn't do the veranda, did I? Again, I missed the veranda. Sorry. Doesn't matter though, not really, because I know where the veranda is. I'll just draw a little polyline that goes from here, and then I'll do I got my little snapping reference on. Okay, so I can go like that, hopefully. Come along, and then we know where that finishes, and we can just put it on like that. So you can just do that, or you can do fillet or whatever you want to do to get it there. All right, so basically just to close that off back here, we should have this beautiful yellow line. You can't actually see what it is because the white on the yellow doesn't look too good, but it's there. We mainly work in the viewport, so don't worry. This is what we actually have. You can just imagine it. All right, so let's have a look down here. Next step is, how are we going with that? Everyone caught up with that? Yeah? Anyone not caught up? Yeah, question? Okay, go. We downloaded the site plan already. Is that the next thing? Yep. Yes. All right, great. Set the site boundary as your current layer. Expand the viewport so that it's in model space. And insert attach button. All right. This is the thing you haven't done before. Yeah. Yeah. This is something you haven't done before. So really sit up and listen. This is the external referencing bit. Making a big deal about it, so it sounds really scary, but it's not really. Okay. So it's scary. It's scary to Robin, so it must be scary to you as well. Okay. Stop scaring the students. Half of them walked out already. All right, so let's go. So let's go to set the layer first, which was the site boundary. It's not the end of the world if you obviously don't set it now, but where's my boundary on? Here it is. It's green because it's meant to be 0.5 thickness, right? If you remember back to our, where our settings are for the pens. So let's go with that. So now insert, which is where you usually go to insert your blocks, sort of on the left-hand side here. You got the blocks, right? That's not where we go. That's if you want to bring it in, and so it lives in this drawing forever.
Question: are we working in floating model space or model space?
No, floating model space. It's got this thick outline, but the problem is you can, of course, work in here. But look, it's a bit of a mess. I didn't want to confuse you with all this stuff here. So really, it's a mess, yeah. But hey, it's an efficient way of working, really, at the end of the day. Yeah, if we get around to it, we might make a note. There is a way of actually sorting this out as well through the layers, and that's this thing over here. It's got filters, but I hardly ever use that, but it's one way of sorting the model space itself. But there's no need to really, because we go through here and it's already formatted, so we can see just what we want to see. So keeping it simple, we are in there, floating, what do you call it? Floating model space. Thank you, the terminology is not up with me. So let's go with insert and go attach. All right, so it's an attach thing here. Now, by default, it will be showing all image files. And for me, just when I can see an image file there, but you might not see anything. What we need to do is change the files of type. So it just shows drawing files, because that's what we're going to bring in, a drawing file. And for me, I saved it in here in all this stuff somewhere. Site, here you go. Site plan from Surveyor. So make sure you saved it in the same folder as you saved your drawing, because you've got a bigger chance of it actually coming back when you open your drawing next time. When you close it, come back next week, it'll find it easier. Otherwise, you have to go and show it where it is next time. And if that happens, we can easily show you how to fix that. All right, so let's go open. So click open. And then another dialog box will come up. Does everyone up to this step? It's good. Yeah, anyone not? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, so everyone please listen, because this is important
All right,
if you're wanting to bring any
okay.
imaging,
Yeah.
sorry, images in.
Anything. Images as well, PDF. I'll show you.
PDF, anything, into AutoCAD.
By the way, speaking of PDF, there's two ways of bringing it in. One is through attach, which is here, and then you can see you can bring DGN, which is microstation files. You can, what else? DGN, DWF. You can bring in point clouds, which is a recap version of point clouds, which basically surveyors will come in and with a scanner and scan this building, and you can bring it in as that. What else? Yeah, drawing files, of course. NWC, which is Navisworks files, and that's it. But also, if you notice here, you can bring in PDF another way. This one, import PDF. This one here, if you've lost your drawing, we might be able to get it back for you by bringing in the PDF, and actually brings it in different line work. It won't bring all the layers, but it'll bring some layers. It'll put hatch in hatch and put lines in lines at least. And then you can go through and layer it at least. So that's another way of doing that. So that might be applicable to some students already. So let's go with attach, which is this one here. Back to where I was. All right, and then just site plan. If it's not there, navigate, find it, open. Well, I just, reiterating, we have to save it from Learn into the same folder as your drawing is.
Yes.
Now, where you saved your drawing.
Where you saved your drawing.
Yeah, it's not really a block. It's look, it's actually, if you were in a sort of more commercial office situation, normally those sort of things will go under a folder called consultants or something like that. And then you have your surveyor, your engineer, your whatever under that again. So for a bigger job, it's more highly organized than that. But for us, a smaller job, we want to keep things simple for now. And the best way to find that floor plan next time, for AutoCAD to find it, is to put it in the same folder as your drawing is saved. I saved that in the same folder too, yes. Yeah, I saved it, because it is a kind of drawing, is not a block, you know. A block is sort of like a symbol or a part or something like that. This is actually a whole floor plan that someone sends you, or a plan. Yeah. So that's, I mean, they all have the WG extension. Exactly, it's a drawing file, but it is not what we're using it for as a symbol as such. So now over here we have some other controls. We have specify scale. We're not going to bother with that, so make sure there's not tick in there. You just basically have to set it up like this one is. Relative path, that's fine. Or in our case, really, we have no path. But whether you have relative path or no path, if it's in the same folder, it'll find it anyway. It's like no path. So relative is also okay. Relative path would be, if I said to you before, like you got a consultants folder and it's sitting underneath your drawing folder, then it'll be relative. Which means if you can imagine you got your drawings folder, there's a consultants folder underneath that. If I was to move that folder from my C drive to my F drive and kept that relationship the same, so always my consultants was below my drawing, it's relative. It means it's going to go find my drawing, work out what folder it's in, it's going to look one below that, and that's where it expects to find that site plan. If it's not there, it won't find it. If it's there, it will find it. That's what relative means. Absolute path is something which basically full path, it's the same thing. Is something that you should really never use. because it means, imagine down the track, you're going to archive this job and you're going to probably put it on your network drive Z or whatever, or on your E drive or whatever it's going to go on the cloud. And it's going to expect to see always, in my case, D drive backslash vet units backslash this backslash that. And if you haven't, even if you keep the same folder naming, it's going to want that D drive. And if your drive is not called D, it's never going to find it. So that's something we don't really use ever. So these other top two ones are the best to use. Let's keep it a relative path for now. And insertion point specifies green. Have I got that in there? Yes. This is an interesting one. Attachment or overlay. By default, I think it goes on attachment. Am I correct? Yeah. Yeah. Your question? Sorry, I didn't hear it. So, yeah. All right. So we had a case where we couldn't set the relative path, and we discovered in the end that the actual drawing files probably saved on a USB, but the site plan was saved on the C drive. So they've got to be in exactly the same folder, the same drive, everything.
Either both on C drive or both on USB.
Exactly. Yeah. The relative path cannot work across drive lists. Yeah. All right. So let's do that. All right. So here we've got an attachment and overlay. What is the difference? All right. So if I attach it, all right, and then I give this drawing file called whatever site plan detail. If I give this drawing file to someone else, add my site plan, and they perhaps want to create something else for me. Maybe they want to put in the plumbing, which I haven't done yet. Maybe give it to some consultant. So they're going to then XREF in my floor plan. And then what it's going to do is going to look to find the surveyor's plan as well. Because it says this plan has an attachment called surveyor's plan, right? So it goes and looks for that. And if it finds it, it'll bring it in. If it doesn't find it, it'll give them an error message. And they'll say, well, what's going on? So on the phone, you didn't send me everything. How do I know what's missing? So you're going to have to then send them the site plan. If you're not intending for this site plan to be used by anyone else other than for this drawing only, it's best to go overlay, which means it's there for this drawing. But if this drawing is ever externally referenced into another drawing to create something else, to be used as a base plan to create something else, then it won't go with it. You won't even tell them that that was ever there. So the convention in the industry is that overlay is the one they use. AutoCAD wants to default to attachment just to confuse you. So the idea is go overlay, and then if someone wants something, they'll bring it in when they need it. Now, it's not so bad for if you give your floor plan to a consultant outside your office. It's worse for people that work with you within the same office, because they're just going to go unknowingly opening it up and never give them a message saying it's missing. So by the end of it, you can imagine you have your tree plan, your contour plan, your site boundary plan, you have all these other things that you've attached in there. This file has become so huge to navigate, not in file size, but just to zoom in around, it's just sort of clogged up. It's best not to, just leave it, because they'll just bring it. If they want the trees, they'll bring them in. If they want the site plan, they'll bring it in. All right, give them the choice. So overlay is the best way to go. There, it says here unitless. That's an interesting thing actually to note there. Unitless. Okay, why does it say unitless? Okay, it says unitless. Now, it says unitless because the surveyor we used must use a template file that doesn't understand whether it's metric or imperial, so it's got no idea. This drawing has no idea. The actual site plan drawing has no idea what it is. It's neutral. All right. So they're either using a really old template file, or the software. Sometimes surveyors use ListCAD or something else to extract their, their reduced data that they get from the site, and then convert it to a drawing through another format, another sort of software. So that could lose that association as well. So that's important to show you, because normally if that said, oh, I know what I am, I'm in imperial, or I'm in metric, or I'm in meters or millimeters or whatever, when we do the next step, you notice nothing. You notice that everything looks fine. But when we go okay now, you don't see your drawing. Where is it? In fact, where's my drawing? Oh, there it is, the little dot down the bottom right-hand corner when I'm moving around. See that? So normally that would have come in a lot bigger. If this drawing knew that, and in fact, the surveyor has drawn this drawing in meters, I know that, but the drawing itself doesn't know it's in meters. So we do in millimeters, that's in meters, so it's 1,000 times smaller than it should be. So it's a little thumbnail sketch basically, so we can't see it unless we zoom in. The other thing you notice is that its hook point, or its insertion point, is very far away from the actual dot on the bottom right hand corner there. I don't know if you can see it up there, but there's a little dot down there. Yeah, we can't really, if I bring it up, I don't know if we can, I lost it already. It's a little dot. I'll leave it. What does my instruction say again? Oh, does it? Oh, okay, that's good then. All right, so there's a little dot, see, down there. As you can see, the site plan was drawn in meters. Yeah, I just said all that. So we'll fix it up in a minute. So what we're going to do is just, what does it say, drop it into the bottom left-hand corner somewhere of the house, just so we know where we're putting it. I would just put it, I would just drop it. Oh, let me just zoom extends. I would just drop it right there in the corner, bottom right-hand corner, so we're all doing the same thing for now. It's not the right location, but surveyors have the habit of drawing the site at the exact coordinate location, as you can imagine, GPS location, where the site exists on the Earth. So their coordinate system is absolute coordinates from 0, 0. Us designers just open the drawing and start drawing anywhere. And so the surveyors get a bit annoyed with us, because we're not using the same sort of benchmark location, so we're not on the same page as such, locational wise. We're not geolocational correct, but they are. So that's the reason why it's so far away. It's probably like 6 million kilometers away from where I've drawn my thing. So, or millimeters away. Sorry. No, I can't see it.
Yeah.
Can I see it? I can't see it. But if I zoom out, I can. There's a little dot. The other way is to just double click here, and that zooms extends, and might not be evident as to where it is, because it could be on the right hand side, it could be on the left, could be below. I mean, I can just see it there. But if you're not sure, you can just do the zoom extends, just then zoom out a little bit. You might be able to see it there if it's big enough. If not, you can't see it. Well, I don't know. Let me just check that. Hang on. All right. So basically, we had a problem where this came in, but it was turned off. The problem was that the layer was put in. It wasn't changed to that layer, which is actually turned on. Don't forget, we're in a viewport currently, and the viewport has some layers frozen. So if you can't see yours, have a look at what layer you're on. And in this case, the layer that he was on with the student was electrical or something like that. Or so just for that layer, you'll see this thing. Change this thing to the layer it should be, then go back and freeze that layer again, and that fixes that problem. And back to square one, or back to where we should be. Oh, if it's frozen, well, if you can't see it, it means you probably put it in a layer that's frozen. Oh, well, that's next. I'm telling you what to do if it's not there. Now, if it's there, we'll go next. All right. If it's there, we'll do this. If it's there, look at the time. We're having so much fun. So let's go here. So if it's there, then you go and highlight it and make it 1,000 times bigger, because that's what it should be. It should be our size, millimeter size. So you change it in the properties. So this is what you do. You could use a scale command if you want, but that's a little more complicated. We'll use that later when we do something else, when we do the detail. So let's zoom into it first. and just have a bit of a look at it so we can see it. There it is. This is what we actually brought in. This is what the surveyor gave us. So we're going to, and it's got the distance and the bearings. The bearings are here. They're all relating to the north with the surveyors. Straight up is 0, and then clockwise 90 to 3 o'clock position, 180, 270 to 9 o'clock, and back to 360 up the page. So if you can look at this line here, it says the angle is 36 degrees, all right? So it indicates to me that if I draw a line from here, show you, you don't have to do this. If I drew a line straight up, that's my 0 line straight up. So this was drawn, that's 36 degrees basically from there. That angle in there is 36 degrees from straight up. All right, clockwise. All right. Let me just erase that. Okay, so basically now we're going to do the properties. Oh, I'm lucky because my properties is docked there all the time, and you should really be there all the time as well. But if it's not there, you can do this. Let me just turn it off for a minute and show you what you can do. If it's not there, easiest way to get it up, we click that, then right click, and down the second bottom, properties. That'll come up. It might be floating for you, if not, whatever it might be. If it's floating, it'd be just sort of, it'd be like that. If it's docked, it'd be just like that. Can get it there, right? So what you need to do while it's highlighted is just change the X and the Y. Just change the X to 1,000 and change the Y to 1,000. It makes it 1,000 times bigger. And it goes off the page, off the view. And now if we zoom extends, double click with the middle mouse button, disaster strikes, and we can't see a thing. Now we don't see anything. Where are they all, do you think? Does this help us? Zoom extends and see if you can now locate the site plan and move it over the top of the house outline and align it so it looks a bit like that. Whoa, now, gee, I can't see anything, let alone move it. Does anyone know? There's a couple dots around, but we'll work it out in a minute. Right, let me just reiterate. If you can see nothing, you've done it well. You've done it properly, all right? Because as you can see, I see nothing, all right? So that's great. Now, we could have got you to actually ask the surveyor to send you a fax of the floor plan, and we could have just put it in ourselves, and everything would have been okay, and you would never have had these problems, all right? But in reality, that's not what we do, and you have these problems, and you need to get around them in an office, all right? And this is the technique you use, all right? So this is why we went for external referencing. But it has huge potential if you're using it properly, all right? Might look like stupid now, but those things that I said in the beginning, okay? All right, so now, so how do I know which is my site plan? There's 2 dots. If I zoom extends, then I zoom back a little bit, I can see 1 dot. Now I can't see the other. But remember when we put our site plan, it was sort of below the bottom right-hand corner of the house. So this bottom one must be my house. Well, I don't know. If I work out that this is actually, the site plan, then my house must be up on top of it. So I've got to go and look on top of it. So there, now if I double click, I can see another dot up here. So that must be my house. I come down here and see, okay, there's a house there. Great. Okay, so somehow I've got to get this thing from down there to up here. All right. And that's what you want. That's the question. Now, I'll let you do that over the week. See if you can sort it out. All right, so you've got to zoom in here. All right, and just click on here. And then you just go to Home tab and go move. And then you pick it up from the middle of this somewhere, anywhere. And zoom out. And remember luckily, my little house was, there, I can see it was in the X and Y section in my area. So we'll just get into this area here and zoom right in. Don't click until you can see the house. Then you just drop it like about there. That's exactly where it should be. I don't have to do anything more. We'll have to adjust it a bit. But at least it's there now. And now I can do zoom extends. And everything is great. All right?
Move it now.
Yeah, just move it there. And we'll just double check now that you always should be checking that things are correct. So let me just check a distance on here. Say that distance there that the surveyor gave us. And it says it's 28,190 and he's got 28.19 there. So great. We've got it right. All right. Don't worry about the angles. It might be different because we're in an architectural angle setup and they are in a surveyor's angle setup. All right. We can change ours as well, but we're not going to go there today. All right. So I'll wait for you to get it in there. All right, so basically we'll leave it here. Next week we'll come along and continue on and position this house, or actually the site plan around the house at the right setbacks as indicated on the PDF. And then we'll bring in do some other adjustments. Then we'll bring in that other detail and finish off our last task next week, and have any other questions and revisions thereafter. All right. All right, thank you. I'll leave it here, and any questions we'll continue on